There are good games and there are bad games. And then there are games that you look at them and you think, did professional computer game programmers seriously think this was a good idea? This is Panic Dizzy, or Dizzy Panic, depending on whether you're reading the in-game stuff or what's on the box cover. Might help if game programmers and people who design box art talk to each other now and again. And this is all there is to it, every level. There's that conveyor belt at the bottom of the game. You have to move it backwards and forwards and make the right shapes fall in the right holes. In later levels there are more shapes and more holes, obviously. But this is basically just the absolute epitome of this game is absolute bollocks, we're never going to sell it. I know, let's stick a well-known character in it. Look, there's Dizzy, he sits in the middle of the screen and does absolutely bugger all. When I think of Dizzy, I think of adventures, of finding amazing places, going to all these unbelievable other worlds and meeting strange, weird and wonderful characters, rescuing people, bringing down evil. I don't think of somebody sitting in a factory operating a poxy conveyor belt. I mean, you wouldn't have Indiana Jones spending an hour and a half sat in a factory, so why this? I'm sorry there's no sound. Although that might be a blessing in disguise, because seriously, after about half an hour of the in-game tune, you'll be chewing the wallpaper. A really irritating, twee little tune. I thought this colour scheme was a good idea. You have to move the conveyor belt backwards and forwards, and those things dropping the shapes are supposed to move upwards every time a shape falls to the right hole. They don't seem to be doing that. When you get to the bottom of the screen, it's game over. Not the way you do that. I can see a lot of people probably saw this listed in computer gaming magazines. It's Dizzy. Or maybe they just looked at it in a shop without having a glance at the back cover and loaded it up on their computers and... This might have been intended for little kids, but I mean, seriously... A little kid would sit there for half an hour playing this and they'd be bored absolutely shitless. They'd much rather be, I don't know, fighting aliens, shooting things, beating people up. I mean, if you want to play something like this, you're better off with Tetris or Clax. Or Columns, that's a good game. I remember playing that for ages. No idea whether Dizzy Panic had a 16-bit release. Can't imagine it was much better than this. I mean, yeah, you can improve the graphics, but what can you do with it? It's putting little shapes into little holes. And the sort of thing a bloody 2-year-old would do. I mean, seriously, who thought Dizzy fans would actually be interested in this? It's just for a quick buck, really, wasn't it? Dizzy, incidentally, was an over-abused character. Towards the end of his gaming life, when he was, or at least his 8-bit gaming life, he was... The last 2 proper Dizzy adventure games were absolutely swamped by a load of absolutely crappy, bloody spin-off games that had absolutely nothing to do with Dizzy. The only decent one was Quick Snacks on the Spectrum. I remember that being really good. That was a really good game. Then they went and messed it up with the Commodore 64 version. That had absolutely nothing to do with the Spectrum version. On the Amiga they messed it up just because the sprites were too big. I mean, that just completely destroyed the maze element of the game. And move all the little blocks around, avoid the horrible things, collect the fruit and that. As someone else on YouTube said, some games were meant to live and die on the Spectrum, or the 8-bit computers. I think in the case of Panic Dizzy, they should have just killed this game before it was even born.